Everybody got a name tag. We are doing door prizes in a little while, so make sure you signed in so you get one. And Sue Newby, make sure you come up here and sign in. That's what you get for walking in the back door. Wow, so now we have more. Oh, yay! Now we have more people coming in. So thanks everybody for coming today. Thank you for bringing all the goodies y'all brought that are in the back of the room. I think almost everything is giveaway. There are a few things that are marked that people are actually selling. But hopefully you'll have a little time at the end if you didn't have a chance to shop back there, and again, shop for free. Yeah. To see, because there's some great stuff back there. And please take those magazines. There's lots of magazines. Delana reports that we now have 131 members. Yay. And since the last meeting, I was going to call out the three that have not stood up and told us about or met us. Make sure it's not any of y'all, okay? Jane, do you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Go to stand up.
If you want. Yeah. So this is Jane Wood.
Hi, I'm Jane Wood, and
Tell us what kind of art you do.
okay, I used to do watercolor and oil, but the oil was too poisonous and the watercolor was too frustrating, so now I'm an acrylic painter.
Is Maureen here? Maureen Springfield? No? Maureen? Okay. Maureen's not with us today. And Todd Fridella? I didn't see him come in. Okay. Well, those are three. And then Lee, would you like to introduce yourself? My friend Lee Stayer.
I'm Lee Stayer. I was a school teacher for 46 years and 39 down at the ADVET, and I got there, my room was right next to the art room. And I've greatly admired artists forevermore, particularly this lady right here. And I have fun with art. I'm surely not in your caliber at all, but I come to steal from the best.
We're so glad. Is there anybody else that has joined that I don't have on the list? No? Okay, great. Our treasurer is not here yet. She's teaching a class, but she will be here later and she can report any news that she has, but we're doing good. Please send any news or information you have for the next newsletter. As usual, we have two email addresses for news. One is mbaa_newsletter@gmail.com. The other one, honeypaintgallery@gmail.com. And we'll send that out again. You know, I send it out pretty much every communication, although I didn't the last one, but I will if you need a reminder. But we need to know if you're in a show anywhere, if you have any news that you would like to share with the club, if you have anything.
Can I make a quick announcement?
Upcoming, yes, and Kathy Prince has something
Don't
to
mean to
say.
interrupt, but Saturday I'm doing a workshop at Alabama Art Supply, and there's spaces available. It's on acrylic glazing techniques. So I know Jane is at acrylic, so and I was the same way. Oil has got toxic properties, watercolor, the paper wrinkles, and I said, what can I do with acrylic? So I have learned how to do it in a watercolor kind of style that I want to share in my workshop. So anyone who's interested in learning that, it's going to be Saturday. You can sign up at Alabama Art Supply's website.
Great, thank you, Kathy. That's good. I hope some of y'all will be interested in that. That sounds really great. Anybody else have announcements they'd like to make? Martha?
I brought a few of those magnets, Mountain Brook Art Association magnets, and a few stickers. There are very few over there left, but they're for sale. And so, if anybody's interested, come see me.
Right, that's magnets. You can put them on your car, your
Yeah, they'll stick well
refrigerator,
to the car.
whatever is magnetic. The board of MBAA is creating a slate of officers for 2026. We have a couple of people that are rolling off, And I just want to put it out there, if anybody's interested in being more involved and wants to get on that slate, we would love to hear from you. You can talk to me, Pam, Christy, Martha, Delana, any of us, Madison, Janet. I'm just looking around the room. Anybody that's on the board, if you're interested in being more involved and want to be, considered to be as a position on the board, we'd love to hear from you.
Otherwise, you're going to be drafted.
Otherwise, you'll be drafted. It is, I tell you, it's, I've been on the board for a long time. It's time for me to roll off in a year or two, because I have to be past president next year. But it's a great way to get to know everybody in the club, get to know the board members, get to know how things work. It's really been a great experience for me. And so if you're interested, just let me know, or any of us. Pam and I are co-chairs for the November Small Works Holiday Show. And Pam, you want to come up here with me? I have a few reminders that I want to give you. The opening for applications is this evening at 6 o'clock, and Christy's going to talk to us a little bit about that application process if you need any help with it. But a few things that I have to remind you of, and Pam probably has some too. The first thing is that the art does not have to have a holiday theme. That's been a question we've gotten from a few people. That's not necessarily the case. It can be, but certainly doesn't have to be. Volunteers, she's going to talk about volunteers in a minute, but if you are a volunteer and not showing your work, you can still put 2 pieces in an exhibit and, for sale if you want to. The maximum size is 16 by 20, but we're really going for smaller works because that's what sells around holiday time. Artists must be present Friday night. It's 5:30 to 7:30. We set up on Friday, and that's November 14th. And then the show is 10 to 4:30 on Saturday. So I'll turn it over to you.
So Friday night is a reception, and so we'll be opening not to the entire public, but to individuals that you invite. We ask you to invite no more than 20 people. These are people that you think would be particularly interested in your art. It's a good chance to give them a preview and make them feel special, that they get a view of what's going to be on sale on Saturday. So we anticipate being able to sell on Friday night. There will be small nibbles at the reception, so we ask you to come in for that. A couple of ideas about dates. So we said tonight at 6 p.m. the applications will open. We don't know how many people will be interested, but because this is only inside, there's limited space. So you need to apply early in order to ensure a space. Also, because it's limited space, we've made a couple of different judgments. One is that will be only 2 screens per artist. You need to have everything on the screens, nothing on the floor, because we simply don't have room for things that are on the floor. A couple of dates to remember. October 3rd is when the applications will close, and then we'll be notifying no later than October 17th. Volunteers. If you are not showing and you want to volunteer, this is a great opportunity, as Susie said earlier, to get to know people. They have a great time, and we need a lot of different kinds of volunteers. So I'm going to send a volunteer sign-up sheet around. There are different kinds of things we need. One is pre-show setup to help us set up the screens and get the rooms ready. There's also post-show takedown. We're going to ask artists to take down their exhibits, but we want people to also be there to help them to do that. We have a hospitality booth, which will be people who are desk duty, runners, sales tax collection, handing out flyers, general assistants, helping with payments if you don't have your own payment method. There are a couple of different shifts for doing that. We will give you training so you don't feel like you're out of your depth to do that.
And it's easy.
It's really,
And it's
very
easy.
Very easy, yes. Preview reception, we need people to help us set up the food, mingle, carry around drinks and nibbles. Marketing, we'd like to get together a marketing team that will get the word out about this particular show. We need some help transporting the screens from the storage facility. And if you have screens that you can lend us to make sure that we have enough screens, we also have a place for you to let us know about that as well. So I'm gonna send this around, there's a pen at the top, please sign up.
Yeah,
Yes,
It's here.
yes.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't say that, it's here, and so it will be this room, the pre-council room, this hallway, and the back hall.
Yeah, and Janet Sanders has done a fabulous job of arranging it. She has measured and figured and drawn. I mean, it's just masterwork. I could never do it, so I'm so thankful for her. Hey, Martha.
We're gonna just bring our own lunch for the day on that.
Yes, we are not offering the Zoe's thing. BYO.
Yeah, bring your own drink, bring your own lunch. Please bring your own foldable chair or stool, because these chairs are gonna be too big. We need something that's smaller and that you can move out of the way if you need to. So it's, you don't have to bring one, but I would say it's useful to have someplace to sit down if you need to.
Okay, so you can bring your little stool, but can you bring, like, when I did the show, I just was so nervous doing the little money thing. Is there gonna be space to bring my husband?
How big is your husband? Don't know.
I'm just asking, because I know you can't have stuff, art bins and stuff, but I was more comfortable having somebody help me do that.
Yeah.
I
And
just got
what I'm hoping is that I'm not doing the show. I'll be here. I'm hoping that there will be enough volunteers that we can help you too. But I mean, of course, you can bring your husband.
Well, I just didn't know.
We may have to stick them in the closet periodically.
It is true what Pam says about the chairs. I have one of those little Walmart stools that's just real easy, kind of small, it collapses. But people can still take a break. I mean, we have this space back here, it's not like you're gonna have to stand there like a soldier all day. I think we can be flexible, of course.
Also, relative to lunch, there is a refrigerator back here, so if you need to bring something and stick it in the fridge,
Yeah.
you can do that.
And we'll have people that can boost it and so forth.
It's a small fridge, so.
It's a small fridge.
Probably
yeah,
not
don't
all
bring
of
it
us.
in, okay.
You might just wanna bring a cooler, a small cooler.
Yeah, that's what I.
What are the hours again?
It's on Saturday. Is it 10 or 9? 9 to 4:30, and then Friday night is 5:30 to 7:30.
Susie, what's the date again?
It's November 14th, Friday, 5:30 to 7:30, and then Saturday, the 15th of November, 9 to 4:30.
So setup will happen on Friday morning, since we won't be doing the reception until that evening.
Ernie?
And we are responsible for all the sales and bookkeeping and taxes and all that.
Hopefully, but we'd love it if everybody could do their own, but if they can't, we are gonna provide the Stripe. Unfortunately, Denise, who is our treasurer, is not gonna be in town, but I'll be trained to do it. Christy will be trained to do it. Christy knows how to do it. And so at least 2 of us, and probably several more, will be able to do it like y'all do at the spring show.
One of the things we talked about was doing a small workshop before or after a meeting to teach people how to use these apps. How many of you would be interested in attending a workshop like that?
Yeah. I tell you, I use Venmo and it is so easy.
Yeah, it's so easy.
It is so easy. You just print out a code and it just goes right into your bank.
So we don't use Venmo ourselves, we will use Stripe.
No, we would like for you to use your own Venmo
Yes,
if
okay.
you have one.
Yeah, if you do,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just saying, for example.
that's what I do.
And I would be happy to show anybody how to do it. It's so easy. If I could do
Super
it,
easy.
it's easy. Right. But yeah, I'm thinking, but we had talked about doing this and maybe the October meeting, we can meet for an hour before or 30 minutes afterward and do that. So, so we'll put that on the agenda.
And Ernie, just like the spring show, we'll give you the tax envelopes like we do
Yeah,
regularly.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be the same. A lot of it is really just the same as we always do in the spring. So taxes will be the same and sign up. Christy, you want to talk about sign up?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, it's not going to be too hard.
Yeah, so sign up will be exactly like you did in the spring. So you'll go to the website. I know y'all can't see this, but you know, right here where it says spring show now, it will say at 6 o'clock this afternoon, it will say holiday show. And you'll click on that, there are guidelines, and then there's an application page that you will go to fill in the application. Is a very short application. And you will click through, let's see, well, I can't do it right there, but anyway, on the membership page, let's see, yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is what it'll look like when you click to the, after you filled in the application, this is where you click through to check out. You'll click that button, the big purple button, and then this page will pop up. Now I do want to tell you, this will say membership checkout instead of holiday show at the top, okay? So you'll go down here and it says membership information. You have selected the Holiday Small Work Show membership level. That's just because the software we use is a membership software. So everything we do is considered a membership, even if it's a show. But it will say down here, you're paying for the Holiday Small Work Show, and the fee is $40. And then you'll go down and fill in your name, your billing address, blah, blah, blah. Submit that and check out, just like the spring show, no difference. So if anybody has any problems, feel free to call me or text me or email me, and I'll be glad to help you. So.
And you can call me and I'll send you to her.
Susie, I have a question.
Yes.
Because this comes up with every show, can you talk about the attendance, I mean, what the requirements are to be in the show?
We have set out the guidelines 2 or 3 times already,
Right.
and I think it's posted on the website.
You need to be a member in good standing.
A member of the-
Yeah, okay, so I'll read it.
Yes.
All active members in good standing are encouraged to apply to exhibit in the show. To be in good standing, artists must be a current member, having paid the yearly dues to MPAA. Because the show is inside City Hall, there are a limited number of spaces. You will be notified if you're accepted into the show. If there is no room in the show, we encourage you to get involved as a volunteer for this year's show, and on, you know. But yeah, this has been attached to the last couple of emails, and I'll continue to send it, and we'll continue to tweak. You know, I think we've got it pretty down pat, but always glad to answer questions. Hey, Sarah.
Did you mention the booth fee?
$40. Best deal in town.
I mean, right?
Yeah. I just want to say, if you've not done a show before, this is a great opportunity. It's
Yes.
only 2 screens.
That's
The
right.
fee is very reasonable. You're going to have a wonderful time, so I would really encourage you to jump in.
Sure, yeah. And of course, you can have some backup work, like we were talking about earlier. If if you have more than 2 screens, yeah, you replenish it. Hopefully, you'll sell.
And you have questions, just let us know. We'll try to answer any
Yeah,
questions.
yeah. Just email, call, text, send a smoke signal, whatever. We're glad to answer questions. And Pam and I are doing this because nobody else wanted to do it. And Sarah
Oh my gosh.
and Lois did such a great job with the spring show, and everything is so organized
Yes.
now that we're just following the steps. So bear with us.
But we need volunteers.
But we need volunteers. We always need volunteers. So
It really is
Thank
a,
you for doing it.
yeah.
thank you, Anna.
Question about the volunteer sheet. I'm hoping to get in the show if I sign up in time. But there's the last page of screens we can use if not in show.
Yeah, so if you're not participating, or if you have extras
Okay.
that you
Well,
are
that's
willing
okay.
to, yeah,
Extras in
any
show.
extras,
Yeah.
yeah, those are,
Yeah. We're gonna cram as many in as we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
My one question is, when is the fiscal year for membership?
January 1st.
Okay.
Yeah,
June,
yeah.
January.
So if you joined at the beginning of this year, you paid, what is it now, 50? 50 for the year. If you joined after the summer and you're a brand new member, you paid 25. So those will renew in January. You will probably get an email from the website, the club, about renewal, probably in November or December. I'll set that to shoot out to you. And I don't know, honestly, whether it will save, I don't know how that'll work. So anyway, I'll talk more about that later. But I know that's a feature of the software we're using. I just haven't done that before, so anyway.
Are grid walls okay? Grid walls,
Grid walls.
the like 2x6 square, like they're like grid walls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're furnishing all of them.
Oh,
on the
Yeah.
screen, so they're
Yeah,
all
so
the
you
same
have to
size.
do that.
Yeah.
Susie,
what size though?
3 by 6.
3 by 6.
Or 3 by 3, over 3 by 3, so 3
Yeah.
by 6, yeah. Is that right?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Now, yes.
Yes, you said draping, you gotta drape, the artist is responsible for draping your screen. Do you have a certain color or?
We have always used white felt, and we have white felt, right, Janet?
A lot of black, quite a bit of white.
Black or white?
Some red, and actually for the holiday show, it might be better than the color too, not printed. But we've had red, and red looks really good too.
Yeah, well, okay.
But you're right, the artist
feel
is
like your art
responsible
looks good on
for
red.
putting the material on the screens.
Yeah, and we do have that. I mean, if you want to provide your own, that's fine too. But we do have a good bit.
So I didn't quite hear that, but, I can bring my own screens, but they're black.
Yeah, my screens are black too. That's okay. Yeah.
Should
I mean,
put
the,
down that I'm bringing my own screens on the?
you
on
think so?
there?
Yes, that would be great. If any of you are bringing your own screens, you can put it on that last page as it goes around. You can get it back. But Sarah, you said yours are a different size.
I think they're 3x6, so.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
probably
those
are.
And they're white grid walls.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to, that would be great because we're going to be asking for if anybody has more. So that's great. Okay, can I introduce our artist now? Madison. So Madison Fail is our vice president of programs, and he's going to introduce our guest artist.
Good morning. I'm going to make this really quick because we've got Caleb, but we also have 2 guests with us today. Today is not only about Caleb's amazing work, but the amazing project that this new body of work came from. It's really, really amazing stuff. And not only is the work beautiful, but the project itself is really great. So I'm going to let Caleb come and talk about it more in detail.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm gonna, in a minute, in a very quick minute, start a demo of acrylics on a dark background. But before I get there, I want to tell you, this is not a technique that I was using before. And I want to tell you why I have sort of found this technique, because it's become a really transformative and special part of my artistic life. So in April of this year, I was approached by the Magic City Wellness Center here in town, and all that I knew was that they were building a new facility and they wanted me to come in and talk to them about painting some work for the new facility. And so I was like, okay, that's some work available. Absolutely, I'll show up. So I went to the Magic City Wellness Center and I met with Krista Mayfield, who is here today. She's the director of the Magic City Wellness Center. And in the conference room, she handed me this packet. And it was a packet that was a blueprint of this like sprawling facility. And she starts to tell me, I'm going to ask her in a minute, I'm going to put her on the spot and ask her to tell you a little bit about it. But she starts to tell me that the Magic City Wellness Center and Birmingham AIDS Outreach are transforming the old Hanover House, the nursing home on Hanover Circle in the Highland Park neighborhood, into a residential center for eating disorders. So it is now actually open, and they are starting to bring in their first clients. But at this point, I had no idea where this was going. I just had a packet with this blueprint that I really couldn't, I didn't know. Blueprint, okay. And then behind the blueprint in the packet were all these sort of pixelated images of stock photos, like bumblebee at a honeysuckle and grapes and, things. And so what I found out is this is actually what their designers, who are wonderful designers, and this is how most of these projects go, this is what their designers had offered as the art for this facility. And to the credit of Krista and Karen Musgrove, the executive director of BAO, who's also here today, they said, no, if we're going to build this beautiful state-of-the-art facility, we want intentional work that makes it feel like the people if you've come all the way to make this change in your life, to seek the treatment that you need, you want to feel like the art you're looking at is made to serve you and support your journey. So of course, So of course I knew I had to do it. So we're still sitting in the conference room, and at this point, mind you, I still think that Krista's going to ask me to paint like one painting for like the cafeteria, right? And so Krista came and Krista took me and we walked through the space. At this point, it was completely gutted. It was still a construction site, dirt floors. I was in a very small safety vest and a hard hat. And we were walking through, and I think this is where I want to just ask Krista, if you will, to just say a little bit about the community you're serving and that sort of thing, and then I think you'll understand why these are amazing people.
Well, thank you, Caleb. Caleb's a dear friend, and it was a privilege to work with him on this project. After this morning, I'm now going to refer to him as Caleb Clark, my former friend. Because I did not expect to speak this morning. I was only coming to support Caleb. So forgive me for being less than prepared. But with that being said, I'm the director of the Magic City Wellness Center. I've been with the organization, a longtime supporter of the organization since the late 80s, I think 1987. And joined the organization about 4 years and what is this, nine months now. Wow, I committed to a year and I'm still hanging out, having a great time. We had an opportunity, I guess, in December of 2023. We started talking about, Karen is not only a PhD in public health, but also an LPC by trade. And so how do we expand our mental health services? At the Wellness Center, we offer free counseling. So we have 4 LPCs, 3 ALCs, and an intern who provide completely free mental health counseling to the community that we serve. And who is the community that we serve? We typically serve or primarily serve the LGBTQ plus community, but about 25% of our patients are allies. And so we have about 12,000 visits a year in primary care and mental health. And so our board had challenged Karen for many years, how to expand our mental health services. And so we start looking at what does that look like? We need more space, as many people do, but where do we focus? Do we hire a psychiatrist? What does it look like? And we had this opportunity to take Hanover House, which is now called New Circle at Hanover, and gut it. We kept the original floor plan with one exception. We built an art studio. It's pretty magnificent, I must say. Yes. We're really leaning into the arts with this programming. But when we had this opportunity, we started looking at statistics. And the statistics, for those that don't know, and by the way, eating disorders was not my background. I'm not a clinical, I'm a business person, but as we started doing the research, what we learned is 9% of individuals in North America are diagnosed with an eating disorder in their lifetime. Diagnosed, that's a key word. One person dies every 52 minutes. That's over 10,000 deaths a year from an eating disorder. And by the way, eating disorders are not prejudiced. They affect everyone. Females actually 2 to 1, but and that's a 2022 statistic. My counselors will actually tell you they're starting to see the male population significantly grow. And by the way, those over 60 significantly grow with eating disorders. So we started looking at those statistics and we said, well, what about the community that we traditionally have served? How does it impact them? And I'm only going to talk about adolescents for a minute. It's just as dramatic in the adults. But in adolescents that identify as LGBTQ, 54% of individuals have been diagnosed with an eating disorder. 18% think they've had an eating disorder and have not been diagnosed. And of that 54% that have been diagnosed, 58% have considered suicide. So with that being said, as Karen and I were looking at the statistics, she looks at me and says, well, the question is not if we're going to do this. The question is, why haven't we already done this? So the project begins. We converted 32,000 square feet. We have 41 beds. But what we really wanted to focus on, very different than others throughout the nation that provide these services, and by the way, all of them have a waiting list, is how do we create a residential feel, not a clinical feel? And that was a challenge, right? A very large space. It's easy to do white doors and, no texture, and do stock art. Not easy to do that for us, by the way. Karen said, why are you bringing these to me? I'm not even sure why you were talking to that lady. And so we spent some time thinking about how can we be different. A lot of these facilities are at the end of a strip mall. They're a converted office building, or they're down a very long dirt road, very isolated. And I'm certain that they're all doing really good work, but the problem with that is that's not what real life is like. And so what occurs is the reoccurrence rate is very high, sometimes as high as 90%. And so we wanted to create an environment of what life is really like. And so we really focused on what are the triggers and how do we help people move toward the triggers. So one of the things you'll see in our facility, and I welcome any of you to schedule, we do have clients now. We have a client now. We're doing really slow. So we would need to schedule it, but I would welcome any of you to come for a tour through the facility. But one of the things that you're going to see in our facility, you're going to see mirrors. People that have come to visit us, they're like, that have experienced an eating disorder, they're like, I can't believe you're doing mirrors. And I said, there's mirrors in the real world. And so how do we help you deal with your triggers? We believe the residential home environment is where a lot of those triggers occur. And so that's the environment that we wanted to create. So when I approached Caleb, and I didn't give him a count initially of art, but we talked a lot about what our colors were. We talked a lot about what our fabrics were. In fact, it was really fun to watch Caleb in his space work because he would hang the fabrics of the room around the canvases that he was painting. And I think that really speaks volumes of the intentionality that Caleb took in this project when you see it in the space. So we really focused on themes. We focused on what do we want the residential rooms to be. So we focused on watercolors in the residential rooms, and we focused on things that are Birmingham in the residential rooms. Vulcan's butt is not in any of the pictures in case you're curious, but we have really cool things. One of my favorite pieces, of course we have Sauce Furnace there. We're gonna market nationwide. These individuals are gonna come from all over the country, so get a little exposure to our city. But one of my favorite pieces is a view from the walking bridge on 24th Street looking down over the city and with the train on the tracks, right? And it's just absolutely stunning. And we have visions of those watercolors that, we'll probably end up doing coffee table books. But as a resident, our bigger plan is when you leave us, we're going to give you a piece of art that represents the room you were in. Because we want this to be a positive experience. We'll probably do some note cards eventually. Right now, I just got phones working this morning. So we have big dreams and big visions, and we're not quite there yet, but we have big plans. So at the end of the day, and I'll share a little bit about, Caleb and I spoke every day for about 30 some odd days. We have 62 pieces, and I just called him last week to do 2 more, so there will be 64 pieces throughout the space. And he averaged painting, because there were lots of opinions and lots of, we were trying not to do art by committee, but there were lots of approvals because this is a really big project with a lot of people interested and have investments in this project. But once we were really able to actually start, it was July the 9th. We also had an open house coming in August, just in case you were curious. So Caleb averaged 1.8 pieces a day to produce 64 amazing pieces that we're so proud of.
Did you eat and sleep too?
Yeah, that was all.
I will share with you, we had this early on, it was probably mid-July, I'm in there and he has 11 pieces done and they're just fantastic, but the edges aren't done. And we did have them framed with gallery services, and he said, so what I think I'm gonna do is tomorrow I'm gonna focus on painting edges. And I'm thinking to myself, today is, and I said, no, hold please. Actually, I had my partner come pick them up. She does interior painting, and actually she took them and she painted all the edges as he went through this so he could focus on the pretty parts. It's a magnificent space. I would love to welcome you to schedule a tour with us. If you have someone that again, we're not an exclusive LGBTQ, we're just affirming LGBTQ. I'll remind you, in our primary care facility, 25% of individuals identify as allies. Yes, ma'am.
I am impressed with the scope of this vision and that you actually have the building and doing all this. Where are you getting the funding with all the funding for these things shrinking?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Well, that's why this project, and by the way, early on we wanted the project to be called Hanover, but as we thought about marketing nationwide, we needed something a little different, so we worked with a branding agent. So you'll hear me also call it Hanover. So I'm gonna just put that out there. So funding for us is at risk. We've had some funding impacted. So I spent 35 years in corporate America. I'm a former corporate executive. So one of the things I specialized in was business growth. And it has been a pleasure for me to be able to come into an agency that I have a lot of passion about and use my for-profit skills in the nonprofit world. So the Wellness Center actually plays a very unique role at Birmingham AIDS Outreach. So we're just a program within Birmingham AIDS Outreach, but we actually generate revenue. And the difference between a for-profit and a not-for-profit is I no longer get those big corporate bonuses that I used to get. Those funds actually go back into the agency to support those programs. So one of the things, and I've been friends with Karen for several decades as our CEO, and I was saying to Karen, one of the dreams that I have is how do we as a nonprofit become more self-sufficient and less dependent upon grants? So the fact that we do 6,500 free STD tests in the city every year, if that funding were to go away, that we can still do that amazing and great work. The fact that for HIV positive individuals in the city, that we do 1.5 million pounds of nutritional education-based food program a year won't go away. And so that's really the role that New Circle plays as another program that will generate revenue, that will go back. And if funds are cut, we'll always go for grants. That's who we are as a nonprofit. We have individuals that write grants. We're really good at it. And by the way, we have many grants and many partnerships, even through research. And just so you know, and I always find this amazing, we do partnerships with NYU, University of Columbia, University of Pittsburgh, University of Tulane, of course UAB, and several others. When we're doing recruiting for research or for prevention, our staff always exceeds our goals and are usually helping those other universities reach their goals. So we're doing amazing work right here in your front yard. And so our goal is, how do we become more self-sufficient? Now, to get to the real answer, we have been very fortunate that Karen formed a relationship in about 2017 with an individual named John Chapman. John Chapman is the owner of Ferris Properties. He's actually a resident right here in your city. He and his family, his kids went to Mountain Brook High School. 2 are still there. One just graduated last year. And so the Dewberry Printing Building, that was the old BMC building that's on 32nd Street. Karen had seen it for, I don't know, it was boarded up for 10 or 15 years. I used to drive by it every day going to work down 280. Karen wanted to do something with that building, and so she emailed John Chapman a few times and he didn't respond. In true John Chapman form, I would say that to him if you were sitting in the room. So Karen went and knocked on his door and said, I want to do something with this building. And so she created this amazing relationship and partnership with John Chapman and Ferris Properties. And they redid the Dewberry building together, and it's also a beautiful space. I got really lucky. They moved in October of 2020, and I joined the organization in January of 2021. My timing was just right. But with that, at the same time, Karen and team were filing to be a charter school. So we have the Magic City Acceptance Academy, which is a completely free charter school. And when I say completely free, when we go into we have 350 kids. We don't give a list at the beginning, and of school supplies, we give you a pencil. And so he actually went and bought all the buildings on Bagby Drive. And so one of those is the Magic City Acceptance Academy, and then we're partners in this as well.
Very generous.
Yeah.
Thank you, Krista.
Yes,
so
of
much.
course.
So you can understand why I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do this project, but I had to be a part of it. So I said yes before I had any kind of idea of what I was going to do. So we started talking about, I did some research on what kind of art supports healing. And I learned that there are colors and shapes and forms of line that are more conducive to the support of wellness than others. And we were working with all these designers. We were going with some softer colors, a lot of greens and blues, and a lot of round edges. And so I started thinking about what kind of art makes me feel calm and healed and that sort of thing. And what kept popping into my head were Van Gogh's olive trees. So those beautiful winding tree trunks that are not necessarily happy, like they're not forcing you to be happy, but they're not disturbing, and they're thoughtful. And one of the things that I love about that work are the lines around the edges. And so I was like, well, I got 40 days, so I can't paint a lot of lines, right? So I've always been drawn to work with a really strong underpainting. So I just painted every canvas. We bought like 60 canvases, and I painted them all in Liquitex Payne's Gray, which is like this really beautiful, soft, like it's as close as you can get to black without being stark. It's still got some depth. And I was like, so the idea was, this is gonna be my line work. So I started as a watercolorist, so I'm accustomed to working with negative space, right? So it's just basically a spin on working with negative space. The line is my negative space. So I want to kind of go ahead and get started and show you. I brought, so a lot of the work in the space, it's either landscape or floral. And so I brought some orchids. We've got a lot of orchids in the space. And by the way, this was kind of how I worked on this project as well. I had the benefit of being able to go to like Davis Wholesale, and I would just buy tons of flowers and stack them in my studio and paint from life. So that was really, really fun. And what I've found is working on this dark background, I really like to do an underdrawing in soft pastel. One of the reasons I like soft pastel is because, like, if the line is really, really bad, I can just make it go away, and start over. So and then you've got some extra texture when the piece is done. So I'm gonna start just by getting a pretty quick underdrawing down, which terrifies me to do in front of all of you. And then we'll kind of go from there. So this is a great time. I'm going to take 5 or 10 minutes and try to get that done. If you want to talk, if you want to, this is.
I'll say something while you get started.
Great. Okay. Wonderful.
Just remember, none of us have ever messed up though.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very good point. Y'all, while Caleb is getting started, and I know he's going to be drawing, and we all want to watch him draw, but we'll pretend like we're not.
Please.
Just remind you that we do have lots of stuff out here. If you want to get out and shop a little bit while he's getting things started, that's fine. Also, yeah, it's free toward the end. We really don't want to have to take any of this somewhere, I don't know where, to get rid of it. But there are lots of things you can use. There are lots of great books and magazines and some tools and supplies. So please feel free, if you haven't had a chance to come back and do a little browsing and grab something to take home with you. Janet brought, and we are going to have door prizes at the very end. So stay to the end, and we have some great door prizes too.
I'm sorry, but thank you. that's you unprepared. I hate to see you prepared. Okay. So if you have a second. So one of the things about painting on a dark background in acrylics is that you really need to make sure that your pigments are opaque, because there's nothing worse than finding what you think is the perfect color and then it disappears on your dark background. So it's basically like if you're a watercolorist, I feel like if you just reverse every single rule that you know how to do this. So I've really fallen in love with, mostly because they supported the colors that went with the design. Liquitex Basics has these gorgeous green gray and blue gray if I were smarter, I could probably mix them, but they're already in the tube. And so I really like, you see how opaque they are. And so the first thing that I like to do is actually, no, they're not new. They've been around for a while.
They're hard to find.
They are, well, that's because I buy them.
So you're the one.
It's me, I'm the problem. But what I really like to do, and again, if you're a person who has worked in watercolor, you'll probably resonate with this, is I was working pretty fast on this. And I like to work fast, and I like for my work to feel physical and pretty, oh, thank you.
Yes, please.
Physical and pretty gestural. And so what I really enjoy is starting with large swaths of flat color. Yeah, that's great. That sort of carves out the subject, right? So like, if you go ahead and carve out what you're painting, the subject of your painting, you've done so much of the work already. And then it's really just your subject. And it's just fun for me because what I'm doing is spending this time carving the outline of the subject, and it gives me time to sort of contemplate the composition, right? Like at this point, rather than just going in and painting a big orchid that's ugly, I can sort of shape it as I go, and then the composition's there, and basically you're just sort of filling in. So as far as brushes go, I have really enjoyed large filberts because they sort of allow you the ability to create flat or round shapes. But do you see already, like, hopefully that's sort of one of the first things where you can start to see that you're kind of making your subject emerge. Thank you.
You're creating the negative.
I'm creating the negative space, yeah. And probably what I'll do is just so that you're not watching me paint flat green for 2 hours, I'll just...
I was gonna ask you, do you create any variation in your background?
I like to, for the sake of today, so what I really like to do, and you might be able to see it in the underpainting, but what I like to do typically is, like, you can see this is kind of variegated, like, you've got a little bit of variance there, which, knowing that I'm gonna preserve some stuff, like these shadows will be just totally open dark.
For your values?
Yeah, so you'll see that, but when I start to paint over this, I've actually really enjoyed kind of flat color, but with variation in the brush stroke, so that you have like
Texture.
yeah, you've got some texture, you've got some visual interest without necessarily
Using another color.
yeah.
This is really cool.
It's also right about there. It's also this is a really, really fun technique with landscapes too. So if you see the way that I'm kind of carving out these flowers, one of the most enjoyable things and like discoveries in this process was like with a landscape, I'll start with the sky first and kind of carve out the space around the trees and even start to put in the sky holes in the trees. If you're a landscape artist, you know what I'm talking about. And that's a really rewarding thing to kind of, again, just sort of carve out your subject.
Were all of your 60 paintings this large?
The smallest, so now 20, so there were about 20 bedrooms. And as Krista said, those were all watercolors. And those were around, there were some 30 by 40 watercolors, but for the most part, those were around, like, they were odd sizes, but they're in these sort of narrow nooks, so they're like 24 by like 12. I mean, really, really, but the canvases, the smallest canvas was a 30 by 36. Which, I mean, I actually, personally, and I mean, this is just a question of taste, but I really enjoy larger, I mean, I'm not a small man. For me, in some ways, I can work bigger more quickly. And that was really important for this. The brand of soft pastel that I really like is Rembrandt, because it's, and really it can be anything. I really prefer for this, you know, I mean, I'm not using a soft pastel in the same sense that a pastel artist would use it. So for me, the harder the pastel is, the better, because you can treat it really like an instrument that you're drawing with rather than
Right.
the way that great pastel artists sort of paint with pastel. For me, it's a drawing utensil for sure. So I'm almost done with this here.
Caleb, do you not work at Alabama Art anymore?
I do not.
I didn't think I see you.
No, I'm at, I've got a studio at Make Beham.
Yeah, so you're full-time painting.
Right now, I teach a little bit theater at the School of Fine Arts, but for the most part,
He sings too.
I know.
Caleb has a studio in the same space I do.
That's right.
I'll say I watched this process from when he found out he was doing it.
That's
And
right.
The creation and he is amazing and fast and just such a pleasure to be around and watch.
Thank you, Nell.
And he shares his flowers. He brought me flowers.
That-
For my space, yep.
I will say that is like, I don't know that before this process, painting flowers was a big motivation or ambition, but I really encourage you, if you haven't done some florals, the wonderful thing about florals is, you know, especially in a communal space, we would get together and I would bring in just, first of all, Davis Wholesale is an amazing place. Nothing wholesale about it. Very expensive. But it was so fun in that big communal space to just bring in all these flowers and see how excited, and I would have people I just keep a bunch of vases available, and we would kind of all get together and configure arrangements, you know, and that was a blast. Okay, I'm gonna leave the background there for now and start on the flowers. So again, let me see if, so burnt sienna, I prefer a terracotta pot to whatever that is. I'm gonna see if this will give you a good example. Burnt sienna is this is pretty transparent. Oh, actually, yeah, you see how if I work with that at all,
that's awesome. Yeah.
on a dark background, it'll kind of, so you have to be, like with this, for purposes of this, I plan on going in just like, I'm not gonna be working into it a lot. So even with a transparent color, if you put it down and you don't mess with it too much, you can get, and you see, I'm trying to basically preserve the chalk line.
Will you keep that chalk line or will it get rubbed out?
So I've tried it both ways. I have done a fixative over the chalk so that it'll stay. So you'll see when we're done, it just adds a little bit of visual interest. But then the other thing is, if you get rid of it, you're left with a really lovely dark line around everything, you know?
So you like it both ways?
I do. I think I actually prefer to see a little bit of the chalk, but it's easier to varnish if you don't have to do fixative and then figure out a varnish or something that works with. So it can create a little bit of an obstacle, but I kind of think it's worth it.
So you have to spray the fixative just where the pastel
Yeah,
is?
yeah,
So you kind of have
yeah.
to be careful, and then the varnish doesn't interfere with that.
Right,
It goes on top.
Everything needs to be acrylic based, you know, but as long so, okay, another thing with this project is like knowing that all these pieces were gonna have to hang cohesively, and that I'd picked base colors based on the rest of what would be in the room. When I kind of strayed away from like my green gray, my blue gray, whatever, I wanted to still use as few other colors as possible. So like to create my, you know, like greenery greens, I love this. This is an Amsterdam acrylic. It's called Gold Ochre. It's got it glows a little more than like a yellow ochre. It's a really gorgeous color. And so I'm gonna try to get as close to, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm not like real concerned with if it's pretty. I don't care that much if it doesn't look exactly like what I'm painting. But you know, a more natural, deeper green than the gray green is basically what matters to me. So, and the thing about keeping that that gray-green mix in there is that you keep the opacity. It stays, you know, goes on pretty thick over this this dark background. This brush, let's see if I can see through 20 layers of paint and tell you what it is. This is part of the Aspen line, the Princeton Aspen line, and it's a dagger. And it has become, you know, I'm a pretty messy painter, and often I'll just like grab whatever brush is available. But this one, especially for painting, like the way you can control, like that's one brush stroke. Yeah. You know, I mean, I really think this is a really useful tool. And so, you know, sometimes I think of this technique as like, it's almost like you're building stained glass. So it's not, you're not blurring lines very much. Instead, you're putting in chunks and blocks of color.
That's great.
Now, this is another favorite. Okay, Amsterdam warm gray. This was like a big keystone for this project. And sometimes, if you don't have to have much finesse, you just pull out the big old house paint brush. And so again, like, I think the most important thing is just you're doing so much of the work. You're making so much of the work easier for yourself when you go ahead and just carve that space out. Am I the only person who does this?
No, squeeze it right on there.
Right.
We all do. Go ahead.
How long does it take to do a painting? Okay, well, that
Not long on this one.
that is a good question. So as most of you probably know, Madison is a very dear friend of mine. And he, it's you. He one time said, he was like, that looks great. Now imagine if you spent 2 days on it. So just leaving, so I knew that I wanted the light to come from over here. So I intentionally put the corner that had more color interest down here so that the shadows would catch some of that instead of just the flat Payne's gray.
That's so fabulous. It looks like a reflection. It's like
That
it just vibrates.
It just puts so much light into the room.
And that is M-Gram cobalt blue acrylic, and it's gorgeous.
It is. Like I said, it's vibrating. I just love that.
So now, I'm going to start on this. I also really love these long filberts. Because you can just articulate with them so much. Watch me not articulate with them. But then it's just putting in, you know, the flowers as well. Orchids, I think, are so lovely. And you can just let so much of the shape do the interest for you. This is where, so with the larger landscapes, I do like to, excuse me, those are the ones where I would probably get rid of more of the chalk line. With these, I do think that they add to kind of the delicate nature of a petal. Now, I haven't done it much today because I'm slightly terrified. But like I would say like 50% of the time that I paint is walking away from the canvas. You know, and just getting some distance, especially when you're painting large. Now, but also, what I learned today that I wouldn't have known otherwise is when you do go ahead and create that underdrawing and carve out the space around it, you need a whole lot less of that. You're focused more on color and how you want the brush strokes to look than having to do all that legwork. I'm just going to use the same green. One thing I love about orchids are those little beautiful light green buds. So I'm just going to go into the same green as the leaves. So here's another thing that I think is really interesting is I just got distracted, I'm sorry.
Oh, listen, I'm just admiring the fact that you have been able to talk through this. 'Cause it's so hard to talk through.
That's fabulous. Love that. Do you paint in your sleep?
Sometimes it feels like it.
Guess what I was.
I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead.
Could it count as one of your 10 that you've got to go?
This painting, yeah, I know it can't, unfortunately. This painting has about 4 paintings underneath it.
So, Caleb, was that Payne's Gray or was it black?
That was Payne's Gray.
It was Payne's.
And then I mixed just a little bit of that cobalt in there. So, okay, this is what I was going to say. So one of the more interesting things that I learned from working on this with these designers is that if the outer edges of the painting worked color-wise with what was going in the room, then there's so much freedom in the middle of the painting, right? So if you're ever working with someone who wants it, like my room is this color, what goes flush up against the wall has to work with that. And in doing so, you buy yourself so much, like I really want to go wild with some reddish purples in this, which was not part of the brief, for the original design, but nobody notices because everything, you know what I mean? You sort of buy yourself some freedom there.
Do you put a varnish? I mean, like, if you're not thinking about the, chalk lines or whatever. Do you normally use a varnish of some sort?
When I varnished the pieces for New Circle with the Liquitex spray matte varnish.
Is it that Soluvar stuff? The Soluvar?
It's like
oil and acrylic.
It's oil and, yeah.
You spray everything. So you just do that for preservation as opposed to shine or no
Correct.
shine?
Well, so because I kind of stuck with a very specific brand of acrylic, I didn't end up with a lot of variation in finish. Like a lot of times if you are painting, like for me, I love Liquitex. And if I paint in Liquitex basics, everything will dry really matte. And then I'll add like a Liquitex heavy body or a golden, and all of a sudden you've got a little more gloss. And so for me, yes, it's definitely more for preservation because I haven't had a huge experience of things drying unevenly.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
After completing the large body of work, did you take a break?
I did. I think I'm still on one. I took about 2 weeks without even what I did was I took 2 weeks to organize my studio because it was a mess. And that still felt like creative work, because I was also for all of those paintings, I had a very specific set of tools. And so I just didn't really look at what else I had. And so honestly, those 2 weeks were mostly like reminding myself what else. I mean, please remember, I worked at Alabama Art Supply for 2.5 years. It was like, you know what I mean? I went home with something every day. So it was actually really great to just take that time to go like, oh yeah, I wanted to use these oil sticks. So now I'm finally starting to dip my toe back in. And the exciting thing is, you know, before I was commissioned to do this, I worked with the colors were a lot different. So what's been really fun is to go back and experiment with this same technique, but like what happens if it's on like a magenta underpainting, or, you know, really kind of explore there.
Caleb, if I can interrupt a minute, we're gonna do the door prize.
Please, yes, that's great.
Yeah, you just paint away.
Everybody signed in. If you haven't, just around here, come on. Okay, we're gonna call out some numbers, or I'm gonna call out some names, and just come up if you hear your name. 34 is, let's see, Sharon Lancaster. We've got door prize, a lot of good ones. There are several gift cards from Forstall. And Alabama Art gave us some supplies that are really nice. There's a sketchbook with pencils, and some watercolor. Okay. Thank you, Alabama Art, as
Like this, huh? Makes you wanna go home and
Yeah, it
paint like
does.
that.
It does.
Try that technique, yes. I love the simplicity of it. I love it.
Jeff Hughes.
Jeff Hughes. Jeff.
We just thought of a question.
What you got?
Can you do the same technique that's kind of minimal detail and stuff, small, or is it pretty much required to go big?
You know, I don't think it's required to go big. I think that depending on the subject matter, it might be, some things may need to be a little bigger. But I don't think that, she was asking if the simplicity, the sort of technique of like really breaking down things into large shapes, if that was more effective large. But I do think like even with watercolors, I love to paint a small, really color blocked moment. And I think to answer your question, it mostly is going to depend on the subject. Did I interrupt?
Okay, Anna Donald.
Caleb, you have a website?
It is under construction. Should be up by November 2025.
You got Instagram.
Yes,
You on Instagram?
I am. It's just Caleb Clark Artist.
Chris Cruz. Yeah, make sure it's Caleb Clark Artist there too, Caleb.
Which one?
Caleb,
Oh, you did.
You're Caleb Clark Artist.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I thought you said art. I'm sorry.
Amy Collins.
He's dying to get into his magenta.
I know.
I can tell.
I'm dying too.
Yeah, that's really gonna bring this painting alive.
Do you find that having to do so many, you know, Doesn't that make painting easier?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that like this
More you do.
technique or like method was kind of born out of necessity.
Yeah.
Love it. Causes you to think of
To
be creative.
to figure out how to break down the image, you know.
See, do you pretty much exclusively use the Amsterdams, or
You know what? I really
just whatever?
do. And
You
I
do?
mean, yeah, I really like the Amsterdams and Liquitex Basics for acrylics. Yeah.
That's a great color.
Okay, yeah, okay, so I don't have a ton of it left, but this is Amsterdam Permanent Red Violet.
Wow.
Oh, yay. It's completely transparent, but it mixes beautifully with white or anything else, so I'll show you.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see that.
I think I'm going to use this dagger brush.
That's what I was thinking.
There's so much articulation.
I've never seen that.
So it's beautiful just like that. So mixed with a little bit of white.
Wow.
And this is going to be a little more, this is not a totally accurate representation of this color,
That's okay.
but I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
You're the artist. You get to choose. Oh, that is so pretty. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Love it.
And honestly, the more white you mix with it, in a way, the more it sings.
Think it through.
Oh.
Permanent Red Violet.
It's just the right amount of violet. Like,
Yeah.
it's not too purple.
Thank you so much.
But it's not too pink.
Right, right.
It's so good.
And it's beautiful at every value. You know, if you
Yeah.
take the value up a little bit, it's still really, really lovely.
Have you ever had a problem mixing brands and trying to not being the same every single brand?
I haven't had problems mixing brands. I have had problems with drying times with like if it's a true cadmium or something like that. Sometimes it'll take a lot longer to dry for me. So I want to show you too, I really like having the dark line around, but I also realized I like how full that purple orchid is. And I want to add a few. I realized I didn't draw enough or I painted over. So what I would do in this case is like add more flowers and go over the green. But then, because I want everything to be outlined, I'll go back and just, in a minute, I'll go back and just add the line around it.
There is more than one way to skin a cat.
There sure is.
Oh, let's think of another way to say it. Never like that thread.
Sorry.
Yeah. all the cat lovers in here.
I never even think about it in literal terms. Did it get you? Roll of paper towels. You know what? I can go get some.
Oh, it's upside down. I mean, in my mind. Well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're the best. Thank you.
The thing about acrylic is it just peels off, so.
Right?
Giving me great inspiration.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's the Sennelier abstracts.
See, I use Sennelier pastels, so they're just, yeah, they're just awesome.
Do you use the
Those
soft or
and the soft, Terry Ludwig and Sennelier.
It's supposed to be 11:30.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
You can go.
We finish at 12.
Okay, all right.
Because being acrylic dries. Yeah. I took a brush, I think. That's what I learned. It's real solid rock.
So is all the background green kind of dry by now?
In an effort to work fast, I used much more of it.
Okay, so it's
it's
dry.
taking a little longer.
I
to dry.
wondered about that.
Here it is. Like that will probably still be wet when we leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, from over
Plus
here,
it's
you can see where
it's a
Yeah.
lighter color.
When you were researching your color palette,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
did you decide on your color?
So, well, part of it was what the space was going to look like. And then another part was, I wish I could remember, I did some research on, the article was called Art in Spaces of Healing. And it was about, really aggressive reds and oranges can feel a little chaotic to people, and how certain lines and sharp angles can be really. So that sort of is what, other than what was going into space, that was kind of what informed that. Yeah, but any kind of Google search on like art for hospitals, art for healing spaces, there's a lot of good literature out there about what is helpful and what is not in a process. So probably the last thing that I'll say, for anybody interested, probably the last thing I'll say, and then I'll just finish the painting, is kind of the final thing here is I can see, as I was carving out the shape and then starting to paint the shapes themselves, I can see a ton of places where, I want more like filler. So for me, really, the final step is like I'm relatively happy with the shapes of the flowers themselves. I could keep tweaking them, but I think what will actually articulate them better is if I go in with my same background colors and I start to continue to just refine what those shapes are. So that's probably what I'll do for the rest of our time together. So thanks so much for watching.
Caleb, you gonna sell that painting?
Sure hope so.
How much?
How much?
Think about it. That would look good anywhere, in anybody's
Oh, business, no. Business, yeah. So, no, it's okay. I just was making sure I didn't want to understand.
Well, and so that's what I was told. This is kind of where I wanted the shadow, so I made sure to tilt the canvas to where the blue was there.
How are you doing? Hey, Chrissy. Good to see you.
Do it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Step back here and look at
Well, hey, that's absolutely
And I can see how that would work on the space he's doing it.
Right. Yeah, I see exactly what it's
and right now, so my website is doing good. So